Hi, good evening. It's quite a stormy night here in the Netherlands tonight, and I figured it is the right atmosphere to talk a bit about spirituality. And that I know that it's quite a controversial topic, and especially if you're someone who wants to work with parents and help guide them when it comes to raising their children, coming out of the broom closet or coming out as a witch, basically, as someone who is spiritually inclined, might be very controversial, and it might even cost you collaborations. However, I'd like to share with you my view on why spirituality is an important part of our lives and could potentially be a new layer, like another layer to the lives of our children that could give them a more rich life. First things first, a bit about my own spiritual background. There was none. I mean, I was born and raised in Greece, and we were all kids of my generation were, or most kids, were Orthodox Christian, were baptized Orthodox Christian, but my parents were never religious. Um, I think my mother would agree if I say that she is an atheist, and my father as well, but he was and still is more like nature inclined. Not that he believes in fairies and stuff, but he would always call our attention to the beauty of nature and especially bodies of water. Like wherever we were going, we always had to stop the car if there was a little creek or a lake or a pond or a river or sea. Um, so he did have this kind of more like pagan nature worship in him in a way. Um, and I'm really glad that I grew up respecting nature and plants and animals and seeing all the beauty that it hides and learning about many of its secrets. Um, and growing up, I came up with my own prayer at night because we spent a lot of summers in my grandparents' village, and I would see once we went to bed, and then I would hear or I would see from the door of our bedroom my grandmother actually kneeling and praying under the Orthodox Christian icons in her room. And they never asked us to pray, they never made us pray. But for me, it was a really nice, a really nice image, like that older lady doing her thing privately in her own room, talking with, I don't know, deceased relatives or the Orthodox saints or Virgin Mary. I don't know who she was praying to and what she was asking for. I think help for everyone. This sort of stuff. If you hear distracting noises, it's our cats running around because, like, I'm a witch. I need to have at least a couple of familiars around. Uh, but I actually noticed that I quite missed that spiritual part, that connection with something bigger, something higher. Because my parents were very clear from the beginning that when you die, the worms eat you up and you become compost and you become part of the life, that cycle of nature. And they never talk to us about angels or spirits or the possibility of heaven or another world. They took us to funerals quite early on because they figured it would be a way to familiarize with death and what happens after people die. Not necessarily very helpful. Not traumatic either, though. Um, that was my own experience with spirituality as a child. So some sneak peeks of my grandma. We were also going to church like with Easter, New Year's Eve, especially if we were at my grandparents' village, in order, I think more not to ruffle any feathers at their village, and because it would make my grandmother happy, that kind of stuff. And we respect that, and it was for us more like a tradition and than having to do anything with higher powers. But I do remember, like I do remember myself like praying from inside to whoever that God guy was, like that bigger power to keep us safe and keep us healthy. And the prayer I said as a child, and actually even as a young adult, it always included it's quite funny because I always thanked that higher power for keeping everyone healthy and alive and asking them to keep doing it. So it was I kind of gave the God pat on the back for doing a good job and asking them to give it up, basically, the arrogance. Anyhow, that's how I rolled back then. And it worked. It gave me comfort. And whenever someone did actually die or did get sick, I was like, oh, okay. Then I would say, thank you for keeping this and this and this and this alive, removing the person that was gone from my life. I even did that for ex-boyfriends. It's horrible, but I did. So that was my relationship with spirituality, and I always had a great interest for herbs and crystals and stones, and I always found a lot of comfort in thinking that they would work in my favor and they would be my little helpers. And in times of difficulty, especially, I would immediately turn to this kind of things. Like I have friends, we are still friends that still remember me going to Greek islands, carrying in my bag quite a few crystals in order to, you know, load them in the Greek sun and moon, right? Like you do. No, I have no shame. I have zero shame about those things. I enjoy them. I find them fun to do. But I do know that there is no scientific evidence to back up what I'm doing or what I enjoy doing in terms of spirituality. But for me, these are little rituals that give me comfort in times of difficulty. So let's have a look now about spirituality and kids and children. Why do I think that offering them a chance to get to know the spiritual aspect of life instead of raising them without any relation to a higher power or the universe or the cosmos or Mother Earth or deities, the deities of your preference, why it might be a good choice to actually do include aspects of spirituality in your family life. First and foremost, about comfort. It is very comforting because we know that life, well, we don't know, but most of us, especially if you've had a university or a technical education and you're very sciencey, we do tend to believe that life is random and there is no bigger plan or no control of a higher creature over our lives. But it does give you comfort to actually believe that, yeah, maybe there is a plan. Maybe there is something bigger that we are all part of. And that comfort is really nice to have. Like to leave that little door of doubt open that maybe it's not so black and white, you know. And then if you choose to have some spiritual aspect in your life, this means usually picking up a higher power to call upon or to pray to or to follow the traditions that are connected to that higher power. I find it really interesting culturally because then it is a way to connect with your own cultural background. So for us, Greece is a very religious country. Like even now, the church has a great power. It's really mixed in politics. It's really messed up. But the Orthodox icons, for example, they do call within us nostalgia still now, even though, or maybe just even more so, because we do live abroad right now. Sorry for the interruption. Kid got in. Yeah, so it is a way, like if you choose to integrate parts of spirituality into your life, it is also a way to develop a deeper connection with your cultural background, especially if you're an expat living abroad. So for us, even though we are certainly not Christians, certainly not Orthodox Christians, we will still follow some Greek customs, like we do bake the traditional cookies for Christmas, like kourabiedes, melomakaroνα. We will do the traditional bread for Easter, tsureki. So it is mostly surrounded. It is mostly around food, focused around food. What we follow when it comes to traditions, but also some icons and some symbols we will integrate in our celebrations. And then it is also a way to connect with a new culture if you're moving to a different country. So, for example, now we are about to move to Germany, and you have all this northern Norse mythology, and you have all these amazing like Viking stories and legends, and lots of heroes and gods, and an amazing whole world to explore. That is actually very rich, and it gives another layer to the culture of the country. So I find that very interesting. That is an interesting way to see how do people celebrate, what are like the pagan or the ancient origins of the celebrations that we celebrate today. And of course, even now, what are the German traditions? How do they celebrate the different holidays? And we are quite familiar with that because our paternal grandmother was German. But using it as an example, you could do that wherever you move, or if you go to a country for holidays. Like I would really love to go to Mexico one day and celebrate there the Dia de los Muertos and see how it's really authentically celebrated there. Spirituality and religion and these traditions, spiritual traditions, are a big part of our culture and of other cultures. Um, then it is also important to know that you don't have to believe in gods in order to to be spiritual. You also don't have to belong to a church, and I think a reason why many people nowadays are have moved away from the church is exactly because church sucks. Like church is not religion. You have lots of corruption in church, in the Orthodox Church, in the Catholic Church. There are many scandals surrounding, also lots of cases of pedophilia and just taking advantage of people who are drawn to the church because of their desperation and being taken advantage of. So I think there is good reason why people have moved away from the church, but the church is different than spirituality, and you don't even actually have to focus on a specific deity. You don't have to believe on a god or a goddess or angels. You can just um, talk about with your children, talk about a sense of unity with the cosmos, with everything around us. And then you can develop all sorts of rituals surrounding that idea of unity. Rituals are actually a great way to offer rhythm to children. Young children need it even more. It helps them to see how the seasons, how we move from one season to the next. And if you have these specific marks in time where you have these specific celebrations and holidays, then it makes it even easier for them to know where they are in the wheel of the year. Um, and the rituals, they also have the added benefits, emotional benefit of giving you a sense of controlling things that you actually cannot control. So, for example, we had recently a very sudden sickness in the family, and I got the girls and we lit the candles and we prayed for good health for the person that got suddenly sick. And though I know that our prayers probably didn't do anything to influence her condition, she is, for now, she's getting better. We hope that will only get better. Um, but it was very comforting at the moment to feel that, we stand here united and we are sending love out for a good cause. And I don't see any harm to that, So even if you don't believe in the least that it actually helps and influences situations, it also doesn't hurt, and you are just focusing in a positive way on someone or something. And then there is when you talk with children, you see that they naturally have this wonder for the world. They believe that the world is magical. Like children will believe in fairies and spirits and Santa Claus, though we took that away from our children very early on because we thought that was the scientifically right thing to do, not to lie to them. But maybe I regret it a bit, so I'm not sure. But anyhow, children do have that sense of wonder, exactly because they don't know anything we know about science and the world, and it's really lovely to see how enamored they are with nature, and they see a little mushroom and they are sure that elves live underneath, also because of children's books, of course. But I find this is a wonderful world that is built around childhood, also with illustrated books and stuff. And I think that it's really nice if you can keep that door open, that door of wonder open throughout your life, because the fact is that there are many many things that we do not actually know about the universe. And how science approaches it is with curiosity and with the passion to find out how things work, why we don't know the things we don't know, how can we develop science even more to find out. And then spirituality actually approaches the world with a sense of wonder, with a sense of how is this even possible that this exists. How is this even possible that the mountains covered with snow look just so magical. And I find it just great to be able to not think how actually the rays of the sun are reflected on the snow and why it looks like that, but just be able to enjoy it. um, and in that sense, I find that there is a very direct link. I'm glancing at my notes. A very direct link between spirituality and mindfulness. Because, not to confuse you, but mindfulness has nothing to do um, actually with spirituality. You can be mindful and you don't have to be spiritual at all. You don't have to believe in anything at all. You don't have to believe that we are all one and there is karma and all that stuff. But the thing is that if you are spiritual, there are many practices linked to spirituality that help you be in the here and now and be mindful. So, meditating, belly breathing, doing body scans, focusing on your senses and the world around you, hugging trees and not looking for the dryads living in them, but more focusing on the sense of, you know, your sense of touch on their bark and on their leaves, and feeling the soles of your feet touching the ground and how it feels throughout the different seasons. These are all practices that are very common both in spirituality and in mindfulness, especially if your spiritual path is more of a witchy, nature-based one. Um, so these two things can very easily walk hand in hand, and when you see that you have a difficulty being mindful, drawing from your spiritual ideas and passions can actually help you be more mindful. Again, if I don't know, I'm not sure I'm making much sense, but I hope you can understand what I mean. Um, and then the thing is that spirituality is a world that is full of archetypes, legends, heroes, myths, fairy tales, and you can draw from all these wonderful stories actually, and weave your own type of spiritual world, based on your own cultural background, on your own emotional needs, your own soul needs, and build your own eclectic, again, here there's the word, your own eclectic kind of spirituality. Um, and it is a fact that people have started telling stories since they developed language, actually. Like, we have really stories that date back thousands and thousands of years. Um, and it is into our soul. Like, we love to connect with others, with other people, by telling stories. We love to pass them on from generation to generation. So, sharing those stories, even though they are myths or fairy tales, it makes you feel some connection with your ancestors, even if you believe they are completely composted now and they're nowhere. But even more so if you feel or you have the hope that their soul is somewhere in the universe. It is a really nice way to connect with the past, and of course also learn from the mistakes of the past, because all those stories, they contain archetypes, and they are meant to teach us lessons about ourselves, about our bright side, our darker side, the darker side of humanity, how people have been fighting with it to try and be on their good side again and again, and failing and standing up and keep trying. There are many valuable lessons, even for people who are not the least bit spiritual. So I find it a great value, actually, in spirituality and in the stories involved in spirituality. Um, and next, I would like to talk about something quite important, like not forcing your own spiritual ideas onto your children. Um, Now, when it comes to children and spirituality. It is a fact that children copy us and learn from us. And this means that if you are a spiritual person, practicing, meaning having rituals and being also more open about them, like I am, like I will have, like there are like crystal balls there, and I've got my, stones laying around, and I've got my oracle decks laying around, and I've got my witch books laying around. So I'm definitely not in the witch closet, meaning that my kids, who also happen to be daughters, if it matters, copy me. That was a bit of, that was something that we have discussed also with Nikos, who is not religious, basically, certainly not religious. Um, I think he wishes he would have more of a spiritual side, was more open to into believing into um, a greater good, or a bigger creature taking care of us. But he's not really there. I don't know if he will ever be, or if he has any interest in being, but he does see that actually kids really enjoy doing, joining me in a ritual. And when I mean ritual, we are not drawing pentagrams and dancing naked under the moon. I think that's probably also illegal in when you live in a city. But we do light our candles, we do light our fires, and in midsummer, and we will write on leaves our wishes and burn the leaves, and we will cleanse our crystals together, this kind of stuff. And he saw that actually it is clear for the children that these are just habits, that there is nothing paranormal or supernatural into them, that it is a way of finding comfort the same way that belly breathing actually is. So they are not vulnerable to, in the future, being taken advantage of. Actually, many people who claim to be spiritual and who are trying to sell their services to others, and I mean, tarot readers or mediums or this kind of stuff. Because I fully believe actually that everyone should take their spirituality into their own hands. Like people who actually sell you their services when it comes to your spiritual development or your spiritual practices are most likely trying to take advantage of you in a weak moment in your life. I think we are all magical. I think we all have inside of us all the potential that we need to explore the world on different levels. And I think that anyone trying to um, sell you your own magic and trying to sell you the power to wake up your own intuition is just basically trying to take your money, if I'm being honest. And that is something that I really want my girls to know, that no, the magic is within you. Um, and whether you choose to explore it or not, that's up to you. And magic is everywhere around. Magic is in math, magic is in language, magic is in the shell of a snail and on the wings of a butterfly, and no one can take it and sell it. So yeah, I'm not saying, just to be clear, that there aren't like maybe oracle card readers or tarot readers who can actually be very helpful and help you use your intuition. If you don't have the time and energy to do that yourself, and you're willing to pay for them to train you, that's fine, that's your choice. But just not don't let people tell you that you can't do it yourself without someone opening the doors for you or unlocking the mysteries. um, a last note about gadgets. Like I said, I've got my gadgets. I've got my witchy books, I've got my oracle decks, I've got my crystals. I don't like it when it's hard. I like it that my kids like my gadgets and want to play with them and are interested. But on the other hand, I get a bit annoyed when my cards get sticky and they might end up torn by the little one, and my stones get lost under the couch where there are many dust bunnies also dancing around. So the solution I found is I keep my precious, precious, precious decks and precious, precious crystals and cards hidden. And I let them play with the ones I'm not so particularly attached with or that are not so easy to break. And you can always actually take your children out in nature and help them find their own gadgets. You can help them find nice pieces of wood and make their own magic wands or draw their own oracle decks, or they can look for nice pebble stones to have as crystals, that kind of stuff. Or you can give them, instead of stupid plastic crap, for Christmas or for holidays, for their birthdays, you can get them nice shiny crystals. um, that sort of thing. And obviously my references are all like pagan, witchy, eclectic, Wiccan. uh, I know if you're a Christian, you probably can't relate, or maybe you could relate. I mean, maybe your child would like to have their own Christian icon or their own rosary or whatever you guys are using. Um, there are ways if you're into gadgets. Gadgets are absolutely not necessary in order to practice spirituality and in order to start a spiritual journey. They're just nice to have, and they make me feel good and they comfort me. And for me, that's the main reason for spirituality. And it is also what I think it helps me also in what Peterson says, like in finding a meaning in life. I find it nice to act as if there is a higher power, as if there is judgment. It helps me be on track in being the better person that I can, even though I'm attracted to much more ambiguous and dark ancient Greek type of deities, like Hecate or Persephone, that actually have this, again, like dual nature of good, bad. Um, I've also been reading Harari recently, and the whole idea of life being so wonderful but very random and meaningless, basically. I do need to create for myself that extra layer of meaning. And I have to say, having lost our dear ones in the recent years, people very close to us, I am inclined now to start. I love the idea that souls actually do live somewhere, and we might meet again. And if I sit down and think with my reason for a long time, that dream kind of dispels and disappears. But I like to indulge into it from time to time. And I find that something that makes you feel good, makes you feel better without causing you harm, is actually totally nice. A totally fine tool to use to keep your stress levels lower and to feel happier or content in your daily life. Um, so to conclude, I think spirituality has a lot to offer, can bring you closer to nature, can help you strengthen your bonds with cultural backgrounds or get you to know different cultures more in a more holistic approach. It shouldn't be forced onto kids. If kids like what you do, if kids are copying you, that's fine. Don't try to indoctrinate your kids. Don't try to push your spirituality or your faith on others. Um, and yeah, I think that pretty much concludes it. And of course, another very important note: if you're parenting with another person, and the other person is an atheist or is completely against spirituality, and you have a completely different vision about things, and they are not okay with you talking to your children about the way you see things, you need to have a long and hard talk with your partner and see what you both feel comfortable with. You can't force things to your child that your partner doesn't agree with, but the same goes the other way around. So you have to be able to also be your authentic self around your children, and you shouldn't feel like you have to hide a part of yourself and your personality. So do talk about it if it's an issue that plays into your house. Um, Please avoid paying people for spiritual purposes. Uh, it's all in you. And yeah, I think that's all I had to share about this topic. I'm really curious how you go about it. If you feel inclined, to have a more spiritual side to your life, or if you're more cynical, and you just enjoy life here and now because you believe it's short and it will end, and that's that. and what is your moral compass, these type of things that spirituality gets involved with. I'm really curious, so do please leave a comment, or if you prefer, drop me a line privately in my email if you don't want to share. And yeah, I'd love a discussion to start on that. Have a nice evening. Bye.